thing on. Right? Okay. Hey, don't forget to tip your waitresses and your bartenders. All right, and we'll be here all week. At least some of them will be. I'm planning to leave town. Anyway, it's 6:02, so let the record show that for my last work session as the mayor, we're late. And as protocol would have it, we always recognize dignitaries in the room. I'd like to recognize my mother, Vicki Clarkson, came and surprised me this evening. And my daughter, Jenna Clarkson, is here. She flew in all the way from Athens, Georgia. Now yeah, exactly. My other daughter, Lexi, is in Hawaii, and if she flew in for this, it would surprise the you-know-what out of me. Yeah, that would be fun. She's going to come in for Christmas, and my 17-year-old son, well, I guess he didn't want to surprise me by coming tonight, but my mom and daughter surprised me by being here tonight, so we're glad they're here. Got a Snickers bar. Did everybody get like a candy? I got the only Snickers bar. It's a special, but where's my water? I didn't get a water, though.
That would be on
That's like no good. I mean, no bueno. I don't have a water. All right. With that, I'll remind everybody, because, it's just protocol. Make sure if you have one of these that's going to play your favorite country song, otherwise embarrass all of us, please mute it. And I used to tell everybody if, you need to have a secondary conversation, step outside into the very cold or very hot outside the Civic Center. But since we're here in this new beautiful building, just step in the other room out there. But please try not to disrupt the meeting this evening. With that, we've got two meetings on our agenda here for December 16th. We've got a public hearing, and then we will have our regular work session. So with that, I will call to order the public hearing, in which I will read the rules of order. We have two public hearings tonight. We have a public hearing for zoning matters, and then also one for non-zoning matters, which means you'll get to listen to me read through this as fast as I possibly can for the last time. I do believe, and I've been telling people for a long time, that if you hypnotize me, I guarantee I could rattle this off. But rules of order for public hearing, zoning matters, City Code Section 280-2. The hearing shall be presided over by the mayor. After calling the hearing to order, the mayor shall request the parcels of property which are the subject of the zoning proposal be identified and read. Following such identification and reading, the development director's recommendation shall be presented. The mayor and city council shall cause the director's written recommendation be made part of the record. Proponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning the zoning decision. Thank you very much. If all 10 minutes are not used, the proponent's remaining time may be reserved for rebuttal. Opponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning each zoning decision. If the presentation times may not be reduced, but may be extended by majority vote, provided they are expanded equally for proponents and opponents. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the microphone and give their name and address to the city clerk. Do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. And since, we know some of you in here, we might recognize you, others we may not. So I will also point out, since there are some COVID rules we had before, but just to clarify for those of you that may not know, we had run concurrently the public hearing portion of these items as well as the work session. We will have the public hearing on the items we have here, and then they will move forward to the work session where the council may have some questions for the staff and or the applicant. Typically, any action that's taken on these items will be taken Tuesday evening, at which point I may or may not be here. Sorry, Brian, I'm just kidding. I'm just waiting for Brian to take over. So the first public hearing is 3275-PZ2021-918, which is 4783 Peachtree Road, is a parking variance. Take it away, staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Andrew Russell, Planning and Development Department. So this is a case for one variance to reduce the on-site parking from 44 spaces to 29 parking spaces at 4783 Peachtree Road. The owner's Greenleaf Investment Partners, and the business on the site is Grapes and Grains, a retail package store. The use requires one space per 300 square feet. We did administratively reduce it to 44 spaces. Currently, there are 29 usable parking spaces on the site. There are 7 spaces in the back of the site that are currently unusable due to a septic field that's been there for a long time. The property owner is working with the two neighboring property owners to have a private sewer line installed in the front through their parking lot. Once that work is complete, the septic field in the rear will be able to be decommissioned and parking spaces installed. The city has approved the plans, and the applicant is now awaiting the DeKalb County approvals in order for that LDP permit to be issued. The applicant states an additional 8 parking spaces would be provided off-site. They would meet UDO regulations for parking. The old Brown fueling station, 2 properties to the south, the property owner of that, there's been a parking easement granted through the end of this year, and the owner of the property has also stated to staff that they'll be happy to extend the parking lease if necessary. There is where the private sewer line would go. Here's some pictures of the site.
We got it, John. We got it.
Oh, could they not see at all?
That's okay. We're good. Okay. Keep going, Andrew.
Staff recommends approval of the variance request to reduce the parking with the exhibits and conditions in the staff report.
Cool. Thank you. Very good. John, do you have anything to add? Cool. Thank you for getting the TV on here. Wait, how much did we spend on this facility? And
I will admit that was probably user error. So.
Yeah. When in doubt, turn it off and turn it back on or unplug, right? So just real quick, because I'm going to take a lot of liberty tonight. Had a meeting the other day with the C-130 pilot, and we were jokingly talking about something wasn't working IT. She was in the meeting with a bunch of people, and I said, so I bet that happens to C-130. She says, no, actually, they tell us if a certain gauge isn't working, we tap on it. And then if it doesn't work again, there's a fuse that we pull out and push back in. I said, you're shitting me, right? And she was like, nope. All right, with that, we will move on.
Do we have fuses in here?
We don't have fuses. We have a city manager that came up there and pushed the button and then walked over and offered some type of bonus to staff. Tim said, hey, get it working. It was either a stick or a carrot. I don't know which it was. All right, with that, I'm embarrassing myself in front of my family, but that's nothing new. All right, so then we will hear from anybody who wishes to speak in favor of this variance. Please make your way to the microphone. Remember, we'll have 10 minutes for this section. And go. No, just kidding. Okay, go. No, just kidding. Whenever you're ready to go, we'll go. And please tell us your name and address and/or how you're related to the project.
Thank you. My name is Mark Buchanan, and I represent property owner, Greenleaf Investment Partners. Other than what Andrew added, the only thing I would add is that we do have that signed lease agreement with the neighbor actually executed. So we have that in hand, so we can use those 8 additional spaces. Other than that, Andrew did a pretty great job of outlining everything and our plans and what we already have in motion and what we hope to do once the sewer line is connected.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I said before, just remind there may be questions when it comes up later in the agenda or may not. So at your discretion. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Nope. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Cool. We may get out of here sooner than later. Next item then is still under the public hearing with zoning matters is 3279 PZ 2021-933, which is 3311 Catalina Drive. It's Chamblee rezoning DCI variances and waivers. Chamblee ILC. I don't know what that means. Rezoning DCI and variance waivers. I guess that's the name of the project. All right, take it away, staff.
Thank you, Mayor. So this project, the Chamblee International Logistics Center, or ILC, is on the formerly known International Village site. This applicant, Seven Oaks, is the same applicant that received approvals for DCI rezoning with concurrent variances and waivers earlier this year for what was known as the Chamblee LMI, or Amazon Distribution Center project. So this is a major modification to that project for reasons that I'll let the applicant explain. The overall parcel is 28 acres. The subject development site is 24.3 acres. The development site is the portion that was rezoned to IT earlier this year from VC, and the rezoning request is to rezone from IT to IT to change previous conditions of approval, along with the DCI major modification. One thing I'll point out on this slide is the presence of the runway protection zone. Only a very small portion of the site is in the runway protection zone, and that's not where any buildings would be. There is, however, an navigation easement that DeKalb County and PDK have on the subject site that has restrictions similar to those of the runway protection zone, mainly those affecting height and the fact that you can't have residential uses. Here's the previous site plan that was approved by City Council earlier this year. You can see it was one building, 675 parking spaces, and some green space. Now, here's the current proposal. It's 5 buildings, a lot less parking. The amount of building is about 2.5 times what it was, and the parking has been cut nearly in half. 26 variances and 9 waivers. Staff would add that all the variance and waiver requests there are no variance and waiver requests in this application that were not asked for and approved in the previous application. Chamblee Tucker Road is on the right to the south there, and Chamblee Dunwoody's to the north left on the page. Just quickly to run through the variances, primarily related to building materials for the warehousing buildings, to not do LEED or green globes or other certification, fenestration, the way that the building facades facing the street would interact with the street as far as pedestrian access, connections to the sidewalk, massing of the building. Exceed the maximum number of required spaces, the location of some parking between the building and the street, the height of retaining walls, and encroachments into the 50-foot and the 75-foot stream buffer and the 50-foot zoning buffer, where some single-family residences are on VC zone property. To not strictly meet the sidewalk and landscape and supplemental zone requirements, a few deviations in the sidewalk that's proposed. The applicant is proposing a 12-foot wide trail to run the whole length of Catalina Drive and Blackburn Way. And then the waivers, driveway widths, not bearing overhead utilities, having excess curb cuts, landscaping, things of that nature. So here is the realigned Catalina Drive and Blackburn Way. There are the 7 curb cuts. Here's where the streetscape, there would be 12-foot wide trail, along Chamblee Dunwoody Road and Blackburn Way and Catalina Drive. So the red is the 12-foot. The blue is the 10-foot wide sidewalk, and then the orange would be the 5-foot wide sidewalk. Again, would be meeting the widths, but wouldn't strictly be meeting the landscape zone. And the applicant is proposing to do some boardwalk crossings over the 2 sections of stream on Catalina Drive and Blackburn Way that isn't strictly allowed in the code. There are the streams. Staff would note that there is a much less encroachment into the stream buffers. It went from just over an acre to just over half an acre. Here's some close-ups of the plan. Now here are the retaining walls that the applicants proposed to install on the site. I'll let them speak more to those. Here is examples of the building architecture proposed. And you see all the buildings are of similar design. So staff is recommending approval of the rezoning from IT to IT, approval of the DCI, and of all of the variance requests except for not receive the sustainable building certification. The city is, as you know, has adopted the sustainability plan last year, showing just further commitment to that, and the sustainability regulation, something that's been in the code a long time. Staff didn't see reason to support that, and one waiver for not resetting existing granite curb or replacing it with new granite curb where necessary, with the conditions that are in the packet. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Appreciate it. And Andrew. John, do you have anything else to add?
I would just add that with the granite curbing, I would ask council to possibly give some leeway on that, or give the development director some consideration based on where the granite curbing is and the span of curbing that might be needed. And that's only because some of that area has significant disrepair. So that's all.
Cool. Thank you very much. All right, moving right along, we'll ask those wishing to speak in favor to please come to the microphone and give your name and address, city clerk, and/or let them know how you're related to the project. We'll have 10 minutes for this section.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. My name is Randy Holmes, and I'm a principal of Seven Oaks Company. We are the applicant, the co-developer of this project, along with Stonemont Financial Group. Joined here tonight by my partner, passing out information, Andrew Pearson, and Alex Hensley with Chamblee Horn, our site civil engineer. And I'd just like to start out, obviously we're back, right, after a year, and not the intended plan a year ago, but that's the way real estate works. But I think what has been really fascinating for us as we've dug back into this project is to see this, the sustained demand and need for well-executed, what I would say kind of boutique-ish in-town industrial. And so our plan today is in front of you, and I really do appreciate the staff's dialogue throughout the process, as has been our experience all these projects in Chamblee, and certainly you guys. I know we've either met in person or electronically with all of y'all walking through the plan. So I won't regurgitate everything that was, Andrew did a great job of giving an overview of the site. We did produce a handout that didn't make it into the packet or up on the screen, but I thought what we do is just very quickly focus on just the one variance and one waiver that were denied, and then staff recommended 19 conditions. We're on board with all of them, but want to tweak just 4. So I just figured that'd be the more productive to talk about tonight. So in your packet that we handed out on page 8, just a real quick summary, and Andrew touched on most of these, but significant parking reduction, and with that, our traffic study has a significant parking count reduction. We've almost doubled our open space and green space in the project. Smaller retaining walls, smaller building heights, and then the stream buffer almost cut in half our intrusion into that. And I want to just mention, it's in the application, but all of the other commitments that we made for the project the first go-around, i.e. cleaning up the streams, the trails, the dedication of the community garden, rooftop signage, all of that we're doing again, as well as we are not touching the village commercial zoning on Chamblee Dunwoody and Chamblee Tucker. So with that, if you flip down 2 pages, really the one waiver, the sustainable, this is something we talked about with Amazon last time. We are absolutely meeting the sustainability points for the city. And the challenge with actually getting it LEED certified is it's super expensive to get the certifications done. We're now talking about 5 buildings. There's baseline cost to actually just get it certified and processed, as well as in the industrial world. That is the LEED is, it's a lot different than in the office or retail and other space. And so we're doing the sustainability credits required by code, but to actually get a LEED certification, we're asking, like we had approved for Amazon, to not have to do that. As well as thinking about it holistically, doubling the green space, we've got all these trails, we're cleaning up the streams, we are doing some sustainable things for the project. Next page, and John mentioned this is the waiver. Granite curbing, we are going to put granite curbing on Chamblee Dunwoody and Chamblee Tucker, and whatever we salvage along Catalina and Blackburn we'll give to the city, but we would appreciate consideration to do concrete siding. This is an industrial project, it's going to get a lot of wear and tear, and it's just hard to maintain that granite. Flipping to the conditions, The first one was an interparcel connectivity to the northern village commercial zoning and the southern village commercial zoning. We went through this last time, and we'd like to end up where we landed last time, which was a pedestrian connection to the village commercial to the south. And the reason why is we have industrial uses in the middle. We don't know what type of commercial is going to be on north and south, and it just may not be compatible. So we're willing to do a pedestrian connection on the south side, and certainly happy to talk more about that. Next one on the condition was to put grasscrete or grass paved materials if we have to encroach on the stream buffers. And like we achieved last time, what we'll do is we want to do impervious asphalt on that. What we've seen is the grasscrete, these parking spaces are going to be heavily used, and if you park cars on it, cars are hot, they drip oil, there's not enough sunlight, the grass dies and it looks bad. So we'll do impervious and it'll meet all the stormwater requirements. The third one, the dumpster visibility. This is another one came up. We did get the variance approval to not have to put it in the back, but we just want flexibility on this one to not have to build enclosures. We're going to have multiple dumpsters. We're going to heavily screen it with landscaping, but just some best efforts. I think we've got, I know, time to work with staff on the wording of this, but we wanted this to have perhaps a little more leeway for us to be able to use best efforts to screen. You're never going to be able to screen them entirely, just given the site orientation of the way the buildings are aligned. We'll do our best, but we just wanted a little flexibility on this language. And then finally, on condition 17, the last page, condition was to add more fenestration if possible along the Catalina and Blackburn frontages. We are willing to do that. It's challenging in the industrial world to add a lot of glass, and so the condition does give us leeway to use architectural detailing. We would just like to add painting to that as well. You can do a lot of good things with shading and painting, and we just want a little bit of tweaking on that language. And with that, I will stop and sit down, and happy to answer any questions later in the meeting, but we really do appreciate the dialogue and your consideration. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, so we have just about another 4 minutes left. If anyone else wishes to speak in favor. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Cool. All right, still moving right along. Y'all get to listen to me read again, although I don't know this one quite as well, but I will try to read it as fast as I possibly can. We now have a public hearing for a non-zoning matter, which, has its own set of rules because we're a government and we make a lot of rules. Rules of order for public hearing non-zoning matters. The mayor is the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the city council as a body, not to individual members. Anyone wishing to speak shall come to the microphone, give their name and address. City clerk, limit remarks to 3 minutes unless further time is granted by the city council. Not to speak a second time until everyone wishing to speak has spoken once. No one can speak more than twice. Please do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. So basically everything you learned in kindergarten. All right. So we have one public hearing of non-zoning matter, which is 3305. It is a resolution. Love resolutions, right? You say you will. Authorizing the existence of the power of eminent domain. Take at it, staff.
Thank you, Mayor. We have before you a resolution to exercise eminent domain on approximately 0.047 acres. That's about 2,000 square feet on a tract of vacant land located between 3518 and 3540 Broad Street and 2140 American Industrial Way. This consists of 3 platted but undeveloped lots with tax identification numbers of 18-309-09-010, 18-309-08-001, and 18-308-15-013. The tract of land is in the shaded area. The red box shows you where that is. On our initial survey, it did not come to our attention in constructing the City Hall site that this was a contested area. There was some issues with that, and we did determine ownership. It did belong to the property owner, adjacent property owner. We have conducted an appraisal. We have made a fair market offer, and we have been waiting on a response, but at this time it is pertinent that we move forward with this project, it will begin to delay further construction. So at this point, we are seeking the exercise of eminent domain on this. We will continue to negotiate with the property owner after this resolution is hopefully considered, and hopefully we will be able to come to a conclusion without the use of eminent domain, but this is the right time to move forward with that. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Anything else? All right, very good. Anyone wish to speak in favor or opposition? I guess that's the way it works. Anyone wish to speak at all? You have 3 minutes. No? Very good. Then I will adjourn the public hearing section, and this is like my favorite part in work sessions. I get to bang the gavel twice in a row. Man, if I had a guitar, I'd just throw it out there. All right, do we have any announcements and presentations? Cool. So we're moving right along. Staff action items. We have under 3A, City Clerk, we have the approval of the minutes for the City Council called meeting of November 6th. Bueller? No. City Council public hearing work session November 10th. Nope. Any discussion on the City Council regular meeting minutes from November 16th? No. All right. Great job. We have another resolution. I'll tell you what, man. There's going to be a resolution sooner or later. To establish the 2022 fee schedule.
Thank you, Mayor. The 2022 fee schedule the fee schedule is adopted annually. This is the 2022 version of that. There are some minor changes. There is one change I did want to point out, and that is a $20 or 7.5% increase that is proposed in sanitation fees, and that's to reflect the increase in tipping fees that we are paying at the landfill. Other than that, I wanted to make council aware that staff intends to revisit all of the fee schedules this year and do a deeper dive into them. And we will begin that process in February and go department by department so that we can have a little bit more time on these.
Very good. Discussion? I have one. Oh, go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
$20 annually or monthly?
Oh, it's annually, so yes.
Very good. So anything else? All right, so I will add, what does that bring the sanitation fee annually to?
I believe it's $285.
$285.
Yeah.
$285 to have
year.
practically anything you drag to the street picked up, right? Anybody complains about that, they can go see the next mayor and city council.
We are really the only city in DeKalb County that has leaf sucking machines. Abbeville doesn't really.
We have a leaf sucking machine. I've said you can drag practically anything to the street, and our wonderful sanitation department will come and pick it up. So I want folks to understand, for $285 a year, I mean, I don't know you can't do anything else. You can't, park in Decatur for $285 a year.
And this is the first increase in quite some time.
It is.
Quite some time.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's been a point of contention for some folks not sitting up here, but I just want to point that out because I think that's incredible that our staff and our city council, giving them guidance, is able to provide that level of service to our residents, and I'm very grateful for that. All right, now on to the city manager. That'd be you. You're busy tonight, John. We have the emergency purchase of vehicles. Oh, this sounds scary.
Thank you, Mayor. I did send some information out earlier. The intent with bringing code enforcement in-house this year, or next year, to begin January 3rd, there was the need to purchase vehicles and have them available on January 3rd. Unfortunately, with the current situation with vehicles, we had to make that order earlier this month, and so I did place that order and authorize that, and I'm coming to the council to let you know and to ask that you confirm this emergency purchase that I exercised.
So if you'd like to chastise the city manager, right at this point would be the time to do
Is
it.
this an example of asking for forgiveness
This is asking for
rather than permission?
Well, you know, it would be an example of the council has given the city manager the authority to do this in previous times. If you don't like it, you know what I've always said, y'all have the opportunity to make and change the rules. If you don't like them, change them. But you gave the city manager this opportunity to make this, but if you'd like to chastise him for it, now's the time and tell him, you know what, give the vehicles back. But I hope y'all don't do that, because I personally think it was a good use of the emergency purchase of vehicles statute, if that's what it is. I don't even know what it is. Law, rule, thing, ordinance. It's one of those things. All right, the next item is the 2022 budget resolution. I'm telling you, I knew there was going to be another resolution.
Yet another resolution. So we've had several meetings on this. We've had 2 public hearings. This is a resolution to establish the 2022 budget. The general fund budget would be established at $27,114,861. Special revenue fund, $16,264,894, and enterprise funds, which include sanitation, stormwater, those would be at $5,140,000 and $525. This is an increase over last year of about 8.8% in revenue, and it does include the use of $1,265,502 in reserves for one-time expenses. We did budget in 2021 to use reserves based on the uncertainty of the economy. We do believe that we will be ending this year without using reserves, so we're very happy with that and proud of that. Next year, we are seeking to use reserves because of a couple of reasons. One is we do have some one-time expenses, specifically a sanitation truck that was not delivered in 2021 that is on order, so we're waiting for that. And then we do have some vehicles as well for purchase.
Any discussion on this item? Okay, as I said, I'll take some latitude tonight and just say that in my time here, one of the things I've been most proud about is our city's fiscal responsibility. Regardless of the staff and the city council that we've had, our fiscal responsibility has been solid. We've made it through the Great Recession, we've made it through a pandemic, and through it all, with the leadership of our council and our staff being stellar, we have maintained a very solid fiscal stance. And I just want to point that out. It's like the thing, and it allows us to do things like have a leaf sucker and provide a higher level of community policing that some other places don't enjoy. So I would just hope that continues, and I know that it will. The next item is strategic planning facilitation.
Thank you, Mayor. We are, as previously discussed, Council had requested and discussed the idea of going through a strategic planning process next year. Staff did reach out to several vendors and is recommending Strategic Government Resources to provide a comprehensive strategic planning facilitation of a council retreat, individual council interviews, as well as 2 full community events where everyone in the community would be invited, and then a final workshop to present the strategic plan, and then they would work with us to develop and put together that strategic plan. This is $50,000. It is budgeted in next year's budget.
Any discussion of this item? No. Very good. Again, another awesome thing that y'all are working towards. The next item, Citizen Response Center Services.
Thank you, Mayor. We've contracted with Jacobs for the call center. It's I guess online's the wrong word, but open 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can call the call center, and Jacobs staff will answer. It does have access to translation services. We've had that again since 2017. We've been doing an annual renewal with them. This year we are recommending an extension of 3 years, and the reason for that is because they are adding 4 elements that we would have available with this 3-year extension. One of those is a scheduled callback function, just like when you call, someone insurance agent or someone else and they have a 3-hour wait, you can put yourself on the list to be called back, and the next available agent can do so.
Does that really work? I always wonder.
It does.
It does.
I don't know. I never get called. I just sit online because I figure they're never going to call me back. But anyway, I'm sorry. I digress.
It also includes the development of our own, essentially, page on the website for interaction, which would include some chat functionality throughout the website. So their agents would also staff answering any chats that would occur over our website, as well as GIS data mapping the incidents or calls, or what the calls are about, I should say, for us, and providing that information to us. So that's why we're recommending the 3-year extension. This is a 6% increase to over last year's to receive these 4 services, and then it does include an annual escalation of 3%.
Very good. Thank you, John. Any discussion on this item? No. All right. Thank you very much. As the song says, turn the page. We have number 5 under city manager. But did you just decide for my last month in office, you just add a whole bunch of different items?
It was not intentional.
No star for you.
I know.
Sorry.
I know.
No star. But you don't give it because I'm not going to be around. All right. Exchange of portions of properties with Ashton Woods Healthcare Properties.
This item actually was something that was voted on quite a while ago, and then we never received the documentation needed until recently. So we have received an appraisal that shows the value of the 2 parcels. The green parcel is currently owned by, or the green area is currently owned by Ashton Woods, and the red area is currently owned by the city. They did come back with essentially similar pricing, similar value, I guess. So Ashton Woods Healthcare has asked to move forward with this again. So we are bringing it back before you.
Any discussion?
So this has nothing to do with the fire parking situation at the front of the project, at the bottom, for example.
So their plans do still show that happening, and to go back to the earlier discussion, they will be taking the road and adding parking along the sides of the road, as well as increasing, I believe they're increasing the parking lot slightly. But all of that is because in order to get emergency vehicles to the facility, currently there's been some issues.
I thought the Lake Pants was on fire on that because of the emergency vehicle situation. It seems like that's gone on for 2 years.
Well, with COVID, they have stopped allowing some visitors to that, so you don't have as many parking issues. However, that will
change eventually.
change.
Sure. Okay.
Can any future action of the council get them to change the name from Ashton Woods or Pruitt of Brookhaven to Pruitt of Chamblee? Seriously, I mean,
You can throw it in the motion and...
Yeah, no, they just, we need to give Neil Pruitt a call and say, dude, you're in Chamblee, you're not in Brookhaven. And it's so much cooler to be in Chamblee than Brookhaven. I mean, my God. Seriously. I mean, they need to get with programs. They're so I don't even know when. All right, the next item then is 3305, eminent domain resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. This remains on the agenda for possible action.
Okay, very good. All right, on to planning and development. So these are items that had came up earlier. We can discuss them or not, depending on the preference of the city council. The first was the Chamblee-Dunwoody Road variance and waiver. Any discussion? I believe it was parking. Yes.
I think Andrew mentioned that the 7 parking spaces that could be over the leach field or whatever it is, would that become decommissioned? When it does become a
That is a different item. This is actually a carryover from last month. This
is Chamblee-Dunwoody Road.
Yes, this is a carryover that was deferred.
Welcome to my world. I usually just totally skip over items, and y'all think I do it on accident. That's cool. This, yeah, it was.
I will point out I will point out that this applicant has changed their plans, did hear some of what was discussed, and has added a 1,000 square foot building on the road. This was the previous plan, and you can see that they've added the 1,000 square foot building on Chamblee Dunwoody Road. And I'm trying to, there was one other, withdrawal of the request and the waiver from 30 feet to 20 feet. And staff does recommend approval of that withdrawal. And just as a reminder, staff did recommend approval with the following conditions.
This building would have the appropriate, it says something about rooftop patio, so I assume it means it's going to be a place to eat. So that's going to mean it's going to be required to have its grease traps and all that stuff installed in the prior to construction, I guess. Or we can just make that a condition.
I guess we're assuming somebody's going to eat up there.
Well, I mean,
Well, I don't know. It might be a...
it says something about food on the sign. It's backwards, but on the drawing there, but unless there's a store name.
Andrew, how would you answer that question?
Yes, the applicant has stated to staff that it would be a restaurant with a rooftop bar, but if there's a rooftop patio seating area, but if there isn't a condition in place, then it could be any use that's allowed on the site.
Yeah, otherwise it becomes maybe a sunning deck. You know, I mean,
Nail salon, outdoor nail salon.
up on top of the roof. Dude, you'd be there in a heartbeat.
I will point out that just as we walked into this meeting, the applicant sent in some new architectural features.
Okay.
So
It'd be great.
we haven't had
It'd be
time
great
to
if you.
review
It'd be
that.
great if you could distribute those to the council.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
just received them, so
Gotcha.
we'll do
All
that.
right. Other discussion?
So this changes staff recommendations from what they previously were?
Staff was previously recommending approval of the zoning buffer request. They are asking for withdrawal of that now. Staff previously was recommending approval of the waiver request for interparcel connectivity to the parcel to the west, but was recommending that they provide connectivity to the east and the north. They have demonstrated since then some very valid topographical hardships to the north, staff they also are now proposing to provide interconnectivity to the east. So we're previously proposing it to the north. Now they've moved it to the east, and we're recommending approval.
Great, thank you.
Anything else? No? All right. So, John Mesa, this next one is teed up just for you to ask the question. It is 4783 Peachtree Road, parking variance. Go.
That, Andrew. This is the decommissioning of the, what did you say?
Septic field.
That would, when that becomes decommissioned, then it would automatically then be required to become the parking spaces. Is that the way that works, or is there a chance that it would decommission and then just stay open spot?
That is what the applicant has proposed would happen, and so that is built into staff's recommendation of condition to the site plan. It's all under that. It's all under that assumption.
Additional follow-up after that, however long it may take.
They would have to do it, and if not, there would be it would be a code enforcement action after a reasonable time.
I'll say I've spoken to the applicant a few times about this. They want the parking. I mean, they hate to be asking for it. They're trying to figure out. They're in a very tight spot, and they don't want to be on septic either. They want to, and we all know we've been talking about this for a long time. But that's a great question, John. Asked at the appropriate time, I might add. The next item is 3311 Catalina Drive, Chamblee ILC. That's what threw me for a minute there earlier. Rezoning, DCI variances waivers. Is there any discussion on this item?
Yeah, I have two questions.
For who?
or, the applicant?
Applicant, so somebody from the applicant for this could come to the microphone, please. We get Randy again. All right. Come on down, you're the next contestant.
So can you explain to me why you don't want to do the, typical streetscape on that portion of Brook Drive?
Well, it's the same issue as last time. We don't own it all, and we don't have the width. There's a big gap. What is that? We will put in sidewalk, and last time what we agreed to do was kind of jog the sidewalk. It's super tight, and the topo goes drop straight down from Burke. We'll do the best we can. There's also a bunch of nice old trees there, but we don't own that whole tract. That's why.
Okay. That's a very odd little sliver of land that goes up between the soon-to-be community garden and, see where that blue line is and that little slice? So is that airport?
Are you talking about the green? There's,
Where the blue line goes around?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, those are the sliver in between the garden. That's private. That's privately owned, or is that the gas?
I think she's talking about that
That's
pointy,
Privately
What
owned.
about the pointy sliver number one?
the guy that goes up in
The
front.
pointy sliver down at the bottom behind, by the two squares.
At the bottom, for Chamblee Tucker. Sorry.
Karen, you want to do that again? Karen, there we go. Karen's pointing at it, what the hell?
At the bottom? Yeah, that is owned, that's the, yeah, but it's privately owned.
Yeah.
So we don't.
Oh, that's Vincent Hall?
No,
No.
just the guy happens to be named Vincent.
Oh, okay.
He's not,
He has several parcels. This was a collection of 81
Yeah.
different parcels.
he has not been canonized.
Oh, that's the one that you're talking, okay.
Yeah.
But that's not airport, that's because it's gray.
Some people got my joke.
Right, airport. Okay, all right, that's it.
Okay. What was it?
I don't know. Hold on a second.
That's the only one you have?
Is that it?
Well, I do have a couple of other questions.
Oh, I should have let you sit down. We could have moved on. My bad.
We have had this, you and I have had the conversation, I've certainly had the conversation also with Bob about what we would expect for these units to be used as.
Sure.
And are you planning on any type of, I mean, I would assume incubator restaurant space or cook, that kind of stuff? Are you planning on marketing for that? Are you planning on grease trapping it and all that stuff? Or would it be really easy to do?
It'd be easier on a project like this than like table chairs and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think the short answer is this big universe of tenants we think are gonna like this.
Yeah.
These ghost kitchens are popping up everywhere and are really cool. No idea. I mean, we are prepared, and we've got our financial partner, Stonelawn. We're gonna move forward with this speculatively. And so we're marketing it to a broad array of tenants. So we kind of expect you're ranging from kind of distribution to makerspace, light assembly, all over the board. There just really isn't a product like this well located, and there's huge demand for it. And so, but I think we're open to anything. And what you never know is we on our village commercial in the north and south, it very well could be we get like a restaurant or a brewery that has their retail outlet there, and then perhaps a facility on it. We just don't know.
Or tap room or something. Let me try to help with a little vernacular, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but maybe the little difference between like just delivering a warm vanilla box versus just a vanilla box where you might leave a dirt floor in the bottom versus pouring the concrete, and you can put up the sides and deliver it in that regard, meaning the stuff doesn't have to go in, but they can still be leasing and marketing it for either one, whatever, it's either warm vanilla box or just a straight vanilla box.
Yeah, I think the hope is once we get this thing launched, we'll have some pretty demand and figure that out before we have to make.
I mean, you might be able to just create this real cool industrial feel that is going on all over just from the ground up.
No, that's right.
Okay. Other questions?
You and I had a discussion about the rooftop. This is the rooftop sign. This is Karen's sign, like the rooftop sign. The rooftop, Chamblee stuff.
Yes.
I don't remember what we decided in the first.
It was welcome to Chamblee.
I don't remember who was overseeing the design. Was that going to be run through us? Was that going to be Public Art Commission?
It's got to go through staff, but interestingly, it also has to go through FAA. And so we have been in touch with, not FAA, PDK, not FAA, PDK. And so we have met with Mario, on our new plan. He's very excited. He does want to study that sign. And so, we just have to work with him.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opinions, but I think that procedurally, we would submit it to staff, and, because it's in the navigation easement, Mario and PDK have a say.
If you could reduce your flying too low, something.
Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up.
And then are you gonna do so long?
Yeah, so long as they come back.
Bye-bye.
I can still envision a big sign, pull up, pull up, pull up.
Do you have a list of what you're looking for as far as tenants go?
Not yet,
What type? I'm sorry, not two, but what type?
Not really specific. We're trying to leave it as flexible as possible within the zoning, ability, but we are targeting, particularly interesting companies. But I do think this is gonna be attractive, distribution, but just on a smaller scale than Amazon. I mean, I think that a lot of companies are looking for outposts like this to just use as kind of spaces for distribute their products. We don't have a public split.
Very cool. Any other questions?
All of that being said about, how cool and unique it is, so what is the overall cost burden on the property to pursue sustainability certification?
So what happens is, and we've learned this on the office side, you have baseline certification. I mean, there's sustainable design, and then there's the whole industry of getting actually certified.
Right.
And so there's a whole commissioning exercise you have to fill out. There's consultants involved. It can easily per building run $50,000 to $70,000 of just processing costs and annual certification. And again, each of these buildings is not very large. I mean, they're ranging from 18,000 square feet up to 80. But then there's also base building modifications that you have to likely make to get that. So what we focused on is hitting the sustainability points as required by code, but to take it to the next level and actually certify these as LEED. And we've seen this actually in the office space. A lot of people aren't actually getting LEED certification anymore, but they are designing it sustainably. So
It may meet or exceed LEED certification standards, but it just doesn't have the label.
Right.
Yeah, that's part of it, but that's a slippery slope too, because to meet or exceed LEED standards could result in a pretty significant change. We are gonna have brand new HVAC equipment, all of our, glass fenestration will meet solar codes, all of our stormwater. I mean, this is a super complicated site, and so we're going through a lot of effort on the stream cleanup and all of our stormwater runoff. So just to add that additional burden, we're not dealing, unfortunately, with a tenant like Amazon who their rental rate was somewhat disconnected with the rest of the market. So it's just kind of a market reality.
So this is the last time y'all get to hear me say this, but I've said it a bunch of times. I was around when we adopted the sustainability ordinance and the building codes. We talked about LEED. We also added green globes when we did it because they, at the time, were just less expensive to go through whatever you want to call that bureaucratic process. I'll say it one more time because I think it's funny, but I said, we could do it for $10 in a frame and print out a piece of paper and hand it to them to hang it on the wall. The idea is not about being able to say LEED. Now, there are some companies that have come to us, and you all know this, that we've approved, that want to be LEED because they use it as a marketing piece, right? Which is great, right, for them. I think for us, and what I would hope we would do is consistently look to continually raise that bar on what truly is sustainable. It's not about being able to say that LEED, but from my understanding, and I haven't worked with it professionally, but talked with enough professionals that have, that said it's just expensive to go through the process.
And what we've seen is for some tenants too, that's important too, they can get a different type of certification for their space, their interior space, but that becomes, and so not everybody chooses to do it. So it's unfortunately, it's become an entire industry of its own, the whole certification process.
Answer your question, Brian? Sure. Okay. Any other questions? Randy, thank you so much, bud. Appreciate you being here. All right, we're done with planning and zoning. We get to move on to DPD. It's the DPD. Item D for Police Department. And they got a lot of items on here. Chief, I'm looking at you, bud. I'm like going, what do you,
Mayor, prior to leaving that,
oh, did I forget something?
Is it the intent of council to move that to first read?
Are we intended,
for the
this needs to
rezoning?
go to first read for the rezone. Are we intended to move that to first read?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. All right, I thought maybe I forgot something. You know, I'm getting, that's why you have a great staff. You rely on them. All right, so police department, we have police residency incentives increase.
Mayor, we currently have a police residency incentive of $500. The request has been made to increase that to $800 per month. That would make us more competitive with some surrounding areas, as well as increase the actual amount, because our employees do have to pay taxes on that. Make the actual take-home closer to $550, $600,
So gross it up, is what you're saying? Gross it up to pay the taxes on it?
essentially.
So that the net,
The net would be somewhere between $550, $600, depending on the employee.
okay. Any discussion on this item? We all know how hard it is anymore to get good people. The 2 is Admiral Drive, Consulate, no parking signs.
Mayor, I'd like to speak about all 3 of these at the same time. We have 3.
So the next one is Admiral Drive and Green Hill Drive, and the next one is Peachtree Road, rear angle parking. You want to talk about that all at the same time?
Yes, Mayor.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Can you do it in 5 minutes or less? Go.
Okay, we have before you 3 resolutions to amend the schedule of traffic rules, regulations, and orders. All 3 of these are related to installation of traffic signage. The establishment of a no parking zone on Green Hill Drive, no parking zone on Admiral Drive, and again, that Admiral Drive is related to the consulate, no parking in front of the consulate area. The no parking on Green Hill Drive is one side of the road initially. And then the establishment of rear-angled parking zone and signs in front on Peachtree Road in front of the new development. So that is what we're seeking here to create or to establish those districts and be able to post the appropriate signage.
Cool. That was actually very
Yes, I do
quick.
have questions.
Oh my gosh.
Who
Well,
keeps bringing up this rear angle parking stuff?
Yeah.
don't know, but it
I think it's
exists, and you
complicated.
gotta make them
It's
park it in that
complicated.
way. It actually almost got hit the other day backing out of a parking spot. I'm just telling you, it's more safe.
People do it on purpose. About the Green Hill curve parking, it has always been my understanding that when there are curves in the road, we don't allow parking on either side. Some of the residents on Green Hill do not want parking on either side of that road. And if you look at that curve, it is a sharp curve. So I have gotten a phone call, and they said, why just one side? It is a sharp curve. And it does make it very hard for people to see. A kid could run out between the cars and all of that kind of stuff, or to see if there's oncoming traffic and all of that as well. So is there a chance that we can put them on both sides of Green Hill?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, that would make Jim Copeland really, really happy. I'm serious.
If he wanted, he should have stayed on the council.
Oh, God, no. Then he'd be sitting here now, not me.
True that. Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
No?
Oh, you know what? I do have a question. It's slightly related.
Chief, you should have sat down fast.
If there's somebody, let's say at the embassy that's parking in the no parking, does a person call 911 to get them, or do you just call the regular police number? I mean, that seems like an awful thing to call 911
This
for.
would be a good time to just go over what the policy is when people call 911 when they don't.
We've always put out that if you would like an immediate response from an officer, the proper thing is to call 911 even when it's not an emergency.
Okay. That
Thank you very much.
it's just, you've got so much better things to do. However, we need to catch them in the act, so.
But if they have that certain license plate that has to do with ambassadors and consulate folks, you can't do anything to them anyway, right?
The consulate's actually done a very good job of managing the parking.
Yeah.
It's just people that will come to visit
Right,
the
yeah,
consulate.
no, I know. Well, and
They
that
can't
parking lot is
control
very
that.
full sometimes.
Yes.
Hey, and we're glad they're here. We met with them recently. It's a great consulate, it's Guatemalan consulate, and folks may not know, but of our Latino population, we have a huge Guatemalan contingent of folks living here, so. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sit down, hurry. All right, can I move on, John, from PD? Yes, we're on to, oh, I'm sorry, Leslie, go ahead.
Oh, I'm kidding.
Oh, I thought so. Oh, my gosh, I tell you, about gave me a heart attack. E just doesn't go for Parks and Recreation, but it is under E. Dresden Park Concession Contract Agreement.
We do have before you a contract, a request to authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with El Patron for concession services at Dresden Park. Staff did solicit proposals for this, and they did provide the highest scoring proposal from the selection committee. They agreed to pay the city the sum of $1,200 for each and every month during the term of the agreement commencing upon notice to proceed and continuing through the end of 2022.
Any discussion?
When will this be open? I mean, is this like every day of the week? Is it soccer weekend? Is it at El Patron, discretion?
Come on up, Parks and Recreation.
We are requesting that they're open during our soccer season or whenever we have programs going on in the park, and then it's up to them to determine when the other times that they're open.
Okay.
So,
there isn't, you're going to be here every day from this time to this time.
yeah, they'll have to provide us with that. We'll provide them with our schedule of programming in the park and events and things, and then they're going to have to provide us with what their hours of operation are going to be 7 days a week as well, so we know when they're open, when they're not open.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
There's an out clause if we move forward with the renovation of the park?
There isn't necessarily an out clause in this current contract. If we move forward with the renovation of the park, more than likely we won't be able to start construction until probably January of 2023, so it wouldn't affect this actual contract for the first year. It is a one-year contract that can be renewed, but if we see that we're going to be moving forward with construction, then we would just end that contract during construction time.
And are they, as part of the contract, are they required to do the maintenance, and are they supposed to have the license and all that stuff?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, they'll have to provide copies of their insurance with the city listed. They'll have to maintain it. They have to provide their own dumpster, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Is that it?
Karen asked about the margarita machine too.
The margarita machine, yeah.
I don't drink margaritas. You're going to have to change
From a machine. Oh my God, hottie. Ooh, she doesn't drink it. I had one question. Is this anything like, unnamed large international airports that give concessions to previous mayors and their families? Or I don't even know where that came from. All right, hey, everybody that is a Sesame Street fan, we have F for finance. And the finance department gets a big old star, and that's why we love them, not only because they're part of Sesame Street, but because they have nothing on the agenda. Public Works, on the other hand, has Keswick Court. I used to live on Keswick Court. Jenna, when you were born, we brought you home to Keswick Court. How about that? Do you remember that? You know what? She probably actually does. Keswick Court Neighborhood Garden Project. Yeah, John will attest. She probably does know that. Keswick Court Neighborhood Garden Project.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have before you, we did receive a request to utilize the area in the roundabout, the circle, as a neighborhood garden, food garden. So it is a residential request. Public Works is currently mowing this area. The Public Works Department has spoken with the neighborhood group, and we have come up with some guidelines that we have put forth for what the neighborhood would be responsible for, what the Public Works Department would be responsible for, and at this time we feel comfortable moving forward and recommending that we allow this pilot program.
Is there anything in there about, if there is a fire hydrant in the middle of this thing, is there anything, or that?
It would have to be, there would have to be,
Cages over the fire hydrant?
and that was discussed, yes.
Here we go.
Yeah, so, if you see on the neighborhood number 4, there's actually, comments about the fire hydrants and anything.
Oh, yeah.
3-foot buffer, and it cannot be touched, altered, or blocked, so, making sure that that is fully accessible and
Perfect.
that side of it.
They're pretty responsible back there too, so, those folks trying to live there.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? How safe for what?
Like it would be somewhat unsafe to be out gardening in the middle of the roundabout when you're on your hands and knees bringing your vegetables and stuff and the car comes around.
So let me tell you, I got my foot ran over while I was mowing my lawn on that street. So anything is possible. There's no curb. I stepped off the curb as I turned to go back up the hill, and this gal ran right over the back of my foot. So, yeah, it's dangerous down there, man, I tell you. But let me say, too, that there are a lot less dangers in that neighborhood than there were when I brought that little girl home to that neighborhood. But my wife and I were glad because it's the only reason we could afford that neighborhood, because it was kind of rough.
I will say that while we have not done a study on that, it is a cul-de-sac. It should be neighborhood traffic. There has been some construction traffic there in the past, but it's and they did.
Yeah. So you know, even if you were like standing in the middle of it, those construction trucks are running right down the middle of it. So maybe that'll keep people from running over the middle, or the penalty gets to be quite a bit greater if you run over.
I know we're talking about margaritas, but they drink margaritas and center lawn chairs out there all the time, so there's activity going on out there, so one form or another, so.
No, that's fine.
Give it a try. Give it a try.
Sure, so at this time, there's no plan for fencing. The resident and neighborhood group is requesting some raised beds. The resident who is really spearheading this does have some raised beds. I don't think you can see in this picture.
Okay.
At this time, he does have the.
Oh, he's got one. Yeah, I know what you're talking
over
about.
that, but we do have height constraints just to make sure the visibility remains.
Gotcha.
Any other questions? It's a rough neighborhood, let me tell you. All right, next item, still under Public Works, is Public Works signing bonus.
Thank you, Mayor. As we've discussed previously, finding employees, especially CDL drivers, equipment operators, has become very difficult. We are requesting to approve a signing bonus for Public Works employees in these areas of $500. And the idea would be that they would receive $200 initially, and then $300 after 120 days on the job. But this would assist with the recruitment efforts.
So we can recruit like a D1 national championship contender?
Recruitment efforts of CDL drivers and equipment operators.
So when I saw signing bonus, I was wondering if it came along with like any type of rights to, you know, their image and
We don't have that.
Scholarships, anything like that?
We don't have that.
Because, you know, amazingly, now you can flip it and get paid. Not that I would have been able to get paid much more than my scholarship, but I played D1 football, and they, you know, nobody was going to buy my jersey anyway, but I didn't have that option. I'm a little peeved about that.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if these guys have like numbers, if they can like sell them in the city bookstore or anything like that.
I don't know, but we need to start thinking about that for city employees as well.
We could do that, right? I mean, the PD did like baseball cards with everybody on them in the past. We could do that with our sanitation department.
I like that.
Right? And then give them all jerseys with numbers on them. Like which team came up and picked up your trash that day?
Huntley Hills gave me breakfast this morning.
There you go.
And we've done that for several
that's
years
awesome.
in a row. Well,
I was so amazed, like when I used to drag stuff to the street, I'd be like taking them out there, taking them Gatorades, like, will you guys keep doing this? And they're like, no, this is what we do. They shouldn't have told me because they stopped getting Gatorades, but anyway. Brian wants to give him
Well,
more.
that was the recommendation from the department. So.
We do like a survey or something to see if other cities were offering something or anything like that.
Anybody else do it?
I don't believe that there was a survey done. We can certainly do a formal survey if you would like for us to.
I don't want a survey, I think we should double that, though. I think it should.
There you go. Put that in your motion.
Just saying.
I don't think they'll say no to that.
Brian, I think that's a great point. All kidding aside about what our sanitation folks and all of our city employees do, But it's definitely one of our departments that probably doesn't get the love that they do in Huntley Hills and some of those that get, but recognize those folks. I can't imagine it's kind of hard, just like it is in PD and other places to recruit folks, but I think that would definitely help. And as we said earlier, it's tough to really get good people. And the CDL drivers, I mean, I want my leaf sucked up, and I call the city manager, he's like, yeah, sorry, we lost our last leaf truck driver because he went to work for somebody else. So, I mean, those kind of things, I think that if you're going to keep that high level of service, again, there's things you got to pay for.
So we just need to make sure that we include tiers, so if we're going to double the overall, we need to double tiers too.
Okay, yeah. All right, very good. Good discussion, man, I love it. Turning the page, right? I mean, do we get to turn the page? Yeah. So, economic development. So there's no economic development going on in the city whatsoever. You can tell that. And community engagement. We don't care what the community has to say. We don't engage with them at all. Is that a new item on the agenda, community engagement? Look at that. I noticed that. I noticed that. But we still haven't gotten to number 9. Why couldn't you have made it its own number so that you could have got to number 9? See, we always had number 9. I think probably until, I think it happened before you were city manager, but we'll get to number 9. I guarantee you we will get to number 9. Boards, authorities, and committees. So, who's board? No? Yeah, man's looking at his watch back there. And there's definitely nobody here in any authority, and you know what happens when you have a committee, right? You end up with a zebra instead of a horse. All right, very good. On Tuesday evening, Joe Fowler will be here. He does have a first read.
He was just here.
He's still here.
Oh, hey, Joe. Joe's back there. Joe, but Tuesday night he'll do. He's not going to do any readings tonight. So, but we did have something to move to first read. See, I'm following along.
Yeah.
I'm like on top of my game. See, that's where you go out when you're on top of your game, not like when you get sacked every third play and throw a bunch of interceptions. All right, the next item then is B. But don't come in and Aaron Rodgers and look better than Brett Favre, okay? That's just not acceptable, right?
You're really trying to stretch out your last.
I would argue that last point as well. But
Second reading of ordinances, we'll have 2 that Joe will read for us. It's the UDO annual amendments, and then we'll have the Chamblee-Dunwoody Road rezoning, DCI variances and all. All right, Mayor and Council, big star for everybody. Nobody put anything on the agenda tonight. Citizen comment. All right, so this is the part where I like to point out you have 3 minutes. Please make your way to the microphone. Tell us who you are, where you live, what's on your mind. And I'll say this for one time. I stopped saying it because people really got angry with me, but it is intended to be a monologue, not a dialogue. Yes, ma'am, please come up, make your way to the microphone. Remember, you have 3 minutes. We'd love to hear from you.
Thank you.
Give your name and address to the city clerk.
Melody Euchman, 1990 Commodore Lane, Chamblee. I came here to thank the council, especially Leslie. I have to say I've been living in Atlanta for 26 years. I've lived in Atlanta, Sandy Springs, Marietta. I would never have even thought of coming to a council meeting for anything because I just never felt that my voice would ever have been heard. And frankly, I didn't think my voice would be heard when I came here. But Leslie heard it, and she ran with it, and it was about street lights that started out as a very little thread on Nextdoor. And I believe my little street and my 4 neighbors who are thrilled because they joined in with this are going to get a street light. And we're very excited. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for hearing us. And also I want to say the sanitation people are the best.
Aren't they? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm really sick of this inflation, but I can understand why it would go up.
Right.
But these are the nicest guys ever,
right.
Really. I catch them as they're coming down the street, and I got to wish them all Merry Christmas and give them a little something for Christmas. It's like, don't get up at 6:45 in the morning to give them breakfast. Thank you for all you do. I hope Chamblee doesn't get so big that we won't have this opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome to Chamblee. We're glad to have you.
Thanks, Leslie.
Anyone else want to come up and tell us how great we are? Anyone else wish to come to the microphone? Nope. Going once, going twice. All right. Do we have an executive session? We do not. All right. We're out of here.